it was a super heady film to watch, but I have to say, like, this notion of time and love and how they intertwine, and if time changes, will love remain? It's kind of this really beautiful concept and a beautiful question to pose. So I'd love to know what your thoughts were whenever you were introduced not only to the script but to this concept.
I'm going to be straight up honest. When it comes to time travel, sci-fi, time just confuses me. So
Thank goodness,
like,
me too.
yeah. So what I felt, what makes me feel comfortable is like simply just cause and effect, right? And something that you were saying, it's this element of like, we live in this sort of connected chaos of unknowns. And so, and I think one thing that can be taken from the film is like, but there's still love to believe in. There's still love to hold on to search for, to fight for. And I think that time travel element sort of creates sort of this perfect like contrast, right? Because it's like everything is unpredictable, and it just kind of makes it more of this like tangible obstacle. And so it's kind of like, can love endure? And so there's that sort of like the opposites.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I had a bit of a panic watching this just at the thought that someone could go back in time and change relationships, realities, and time travel was just kind of so accessible that somebody could be like, you know what, I'm really not happy that relationship ended. I'm gonna go back in time and see what I can do to remedy that for my future. I was like, holy moly. Thinking back to my past relationships, I'm like, oh, absolutely not. This is a terrifying thought. Like, what if that happened to you? What if you had a past relationship that, that your partner was not ready for that to end? How would you feel about that?
I'm going to borrow this from, I think Zoe. I felt like her point of view was very much of like acceptance, right? She's kind of got this like, this is the world that she exists in, and there's sort of just going with the flow, right? Obviously that kind of shifts in the film.
Yeah, it does.
When something happens, but also I feel like in the end, that still may ring true, depending on how you look at the situation. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, so I'm just not going to say, the end part.
Yeah. So you play Leslie Odom Jr.'s character's sister in the film, and I love the relationship between the two of you. It was such a sweet bond. And one of the things you did for him that cracked me up was you, for his birthday, bought him this old piece of tech, essentially. And it was like a radio, or it was kind of like one of those like pocket radio devices. And I thought, how funny to think of that as something that is vintage or archaic, because the world of the film, it looks very similar to the world that we live in, but there are these hints of like technology, like the writing pad that he uses that looks like a writing pad, and then he flips it up and it's actually this very interactive tablet. And same thing with Cynthia Erivo's character. She uses the tool she uses for her photography and editing. So I have to ask, if you were to have access to any type of technology that's kind of similar to what we use today, just a little bit more advanced than we have now, what would that be? What would you choose?
My immediate thought was to be able to just travel and show up somewhere, like just go into a machine, and that's what came up, just especially during these times. It's like I would love to sort of avoid some of the more taxing things around traveling. So that would be cool.
That's funny you say that. I don't remember who I was talking to, but they essentially said, time travel would be so interesting, or just being able to, zap yourself somewhere very quickly. But we kind of have done that with Zoom a little bit, to where people all over the world can just show up like that. So that's an interesting tool to choose there. So going back to the cast, this is an incredible cast for this film. The amount of talent in this movie. You've got Orlando Bloom, Leslie Odom Jr., Cynthia Erivo, yourself. What was it like just working with a group of people who are so talented and so dedicated to their craft?
Yeah, listen, I just felt like so grateful. I think first of all, working with John, that was like anytime he decides to explore a subject, I'm ready to like pay attention and to jump on board. And I got to explore mostly with Leslie, and it was really inspiring. Like, first of all, he was such a gracious and present scene partner. And it was also really just like so, I just remember being like on a car ride with him and him just wanting to learn more and just to get better. And it was just like, he's so talented.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the rest of the cast, like it's kind of crazy, it's really cool.
So the past couple of years have been kind of tough on a lot of people, and we're getting back to a place where we can go to the movies and we can have this communal experience. And I believe your character is actually the one who says this line in the film, but you're talking about your partner in the film who has this love for rock climbing, and you say it's my church. I've been talking about like rock climbing and being outside and being with your person. You mentioned it's my church. And, in a lot of ways, I feel that way about going to the movies and being in a movie theater. Like that is my church at times, where I can go and I can relax and, I can travel to a faraway land or, experience emotions that are outside of my current reality. And, this film is at the core of it about love and about connectivity between the people you love in your life, whether you've got distance or space in between you, time in between you, or what, but it's truly about love. And I'd love to get your thoughts on why it's important to experience films like Needle in a Timestack, where you have that connected message of love and finding your way back to it. Why is it important to see films like that in a theater with other people?
I think like with just the power of storytelling, and let's just add the element of um being in community, especially during the last few years, and just the recognition of how important it is to be in relationship with people. But as far as like the film aspect, I think that it's I think it serves, particularly with this film, it both, it forces you to ask a lot of questions. Like I'm still asking questions. Do you know what I mean? And so it has this way of bringing like new perspectives, on so many different things. And also, I think it also, especially with love being such a universal thing, um, it reflects back to us our own humanity, which again is comforting, especially during these times. So yeah, that's what I would say to that.
Yeah. So what's next for you? Obviously, this is coming out in theaters and then streaming and on Blu-ray and DVD here soon. But what's next for you after this?
I'm just currently exploring a few things, different arenas. So um, I can't say what they are, but like I'm excited. Like hopefully I'll get to like share it at some point. So